Welcome to Behind the Law with the Ameli Law Group.
Welcome to Behind the Law with the Ameli Law Group with Chantelle Ameli and Mark Ameli of the Ameli Law Group in Los Angeles. They handle complex personal injury, business, and contract cases, and they prepare every case like it's going to trial. I'm Leanne Lyon, and today we're talking about contract mistakes that can create serious legal and financial problems long after the deal is signed. So good to see you, Chantelle and Mark.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Hi.
So, who would like to take this one? What parts of a contract are people usually skimming over right before they sign?
Well, the reality is that a lot of the clients that come to my office, they skim over everything. They just take a look at the names, and the names are okay, so they'll sign. That's the problem. Skimming over any part of the contract could be troublesome. Um, some to a higher degree and some to a lower degree, but they are all troublesome. One of the things that I have noticed, for example, uh, the cases mainly come to me because somebody has a dispute because the insurance is not covered. So there is an insurance part of the contract that requires in a building in a lease agreement, for example, requires that the tenant carry a certain amount of insurance. And the client hasn't looked at that at all. And so it becomes a problem because they don't have insurance now. Now they are in breach of contract. Whether buying the insurance at this time will help them or not, that will depend on the other side, whether they want to take this as a breach and cancel the contract, or if they want to do something else with it and agree to reinstate the contract and have the policy insured.
I think at the end of the day, contracts are long and tedious and boring, and nobody wants to read them except attorneys. I think we are the ones that actually care what they say. We are the ones that will go through the terms, make sure that our client is protected, make sure that the terms are legal, make sure that they are allowed, make sure that they're following all the rules, and bringing all of those things to our client's attention so that they know, for example, like what he was talking about, that a lease agreement may only be enforceable if the person who is the lessee has insurance on that property. If they don't, then the contract is not enforceable. So it's a matter of really going through all of the horrible, tedious details and just making sure that you have all of the information so that you can decide whether that agreement is appropriate for you or if there are things that you need to change.
And that's why it's so important to consult with an attorney before signing the contract, because when you come to us and you've already signed the contract, you're already in breach, there isn't much that we can do for you. Or if there is, it's going to be very expensive to accomplish the same goal. Whereas if we review the contract, the cost will be much less, and it will be a lot easier to resolve the issues beforehand.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to spend the money for an attorney initially. And that is a much better investment than waiting until later when something goes wrong and then trying to make changes or deal with whatever litigation perhaps is coming up. Um, Making that initial investment ultimately is the best way to go.
So, there's written contracts, and that's what we're talking about so far, but there's also less formal contracts. Let's talk about how do casual conversations, text messages, or email chains suddenly turn into something legally enforceable?
Yeah, let me just tell you that there are certain things that should be in a contract uh, to make it a contract. Um, there must be the offer, there must be the acceptance, there must be the consideration. The people, the person that's doing this must have the intent to create the contract, which means that he must have or she must have the assets to uh, put into the contract, which is a part of the consideration. But somebody may say that I have the money, but in fact, they don't have the money. So that the contract will not be enforceable. Right, Chantal? Did I do my uh,
Ah,
part of the
no, that was very
part
good.
of the contract correctly?
Contracts 101. Yes.
Yeah.
A couple other considerations are that the people that are entering the contract have the legal capacity to do so. If someone is a minor, those rules change sometimes. If the person is somehow disabled mentally and is not able to understand that they are putting themselves into this contract that may not be enforceable. There also is the consideration of having a proper legal purpose for the contract. So you can't contract to do something illegal because that is obviously not enforceable. So if we make a deal that I will give you $10,000 and you kill someone for me, that's not legal. So it just depends on what the purpose of the contract is too.
But sometimes it happens that you can enforce them. Yes. Um, a case I had, um, uh, these president of a bank and my client had been in a restaurant. My client knew that this bank had two pieces of property that he wanted to buy, and they said, "Okay, let's just write it on this napkin so that uh, we won't forget." And so they wrote the date that they're doing it. They wrote the subject, which were the two pieces of property, their addresses. They also wrote the consideration, the amount of money that they had to pay. He obviously had the intent and had the wherewithal to purchase those properties, and the bank was aware of it. So they went into this agreement. The bank sold him one of the properties, and the more expensive and valuable property they didn't sell to him. So we decided that they're in breach of their contract, and we went to court. We went through trial, and we prevailed. My client actually got well, he didn't get the property, but they had sold the property at about $100,000 above the price that they had agreed with him. So the bank paid him $100,000.
Wow.
So
So that little napkin with a couple little things on it, it counts.
Hey, Chantel, with your entertainment background, what do artists and creators sometimes give away too early without realizing the long term value of it?
There are a lot of deals going on in the last few years, particularly, um, where actors and musicians are selling their rights to residuals and royalties. And those are amounts that could potentially keep a person alive for a while without working. So it's definitely a big consideration. When you're considering royalties, for example, people we have a lot of musicians who are selling their performance rights. And so every time that their music is played, they get a little chunk of money, little tiny bit. And every time it's played, they get that little bit. So that over time, depending on how popular that music is, it's going to add up to something. And what's been happening is that these performance rights organizations are finding these artists and saying, look, we see that you're making some money. We're going to give you this huge chunk of money for all of your royalties for the rest of your life, basically, wherever this song is played throughout the world. And the amount of money has been so large that a lot of times they're saying, okay, here you go, take it. And sometimes that turns out well. Sometimes it's like a risk. You don't know. How would you make more overtime if you didn't sell? Would you, or have you made more selling it? And that's definitely a consideration. Do you want to just get this big chunk and hope it lasts for your lifetime, or do you want to just get those minimal payments throughout your lifetime? That's definitely something that's been happening, and most of the artists seem to be happy with the results, but it's just been so soon that it's hard to see what the actual payouts are going to be at the end of the day.
As an author, I recently published, and there were a lot of contracts in going through publishing. And thankfully, I did read through them, but I didn't exactly hire an attorney to do it for me. I think I've escaped giving away too much, but it's kind of hard when you're online. How can somebody in my situation, how could somebody work with an attorney? We can't really change, let's say, those big publishing company terms.
Right. That's definitely something that is tough sometimes. Selling off your copyright to a particular piece, that's huge. Um, but also that's all you want to do when you're a writer, is to sell your work. So if you have this huge platform that is saying, let me give you money for this and you can go on and the world will read your book, that's, everything that you've ever wanted. It's the same thing for actors. There's some actors that they will sign a contract because they want to do the job. It doesn't matter that they're not getting paid as much. It doesn't matter that they're working way too many hours. It doesn't matter, because they just want to do the job. So that is something that before I was an attorney, I was an agent, a talent agent. And that was like the dream crusher part of my job, is to tell them, I don't think that this is advisable. You should not do this job. They're taking advantage of you. And sometimes they listen. Sometimes they say, I do not care. I just want to do it. Okay. But at least knowing what you're giving away, I think, is a big part of your decision making. And I know, particularly with actors and musicians, the last thing that they want to do is go through a contract. It's so boring. But I think it's important so that they know, okay, so I have to work 20 hours every day and I'm getting $100. Ugh, okay, I don't care. I want to do it. But at least you know. And that's the important part. That's why you should find an attorney to just at least explain what's going to be happening, so that you are aware and can make at least an informed decision. But it's difficult because that's all you want to do, is get the work. And it's hard to say no. And I think a lot of times the copyright people know that. A lot of times publishers know that. A lot of times production companies know that. And they undoubtedly try to take advantage.
Yeah. Well, even ISBNs, like, I needed an ISBN. I had several companies saying, we'll give you one for free. And I'm like, let me check the details on that free ISBN.
Nothing is free. This is what I've learned in my old age. Nothing is free. You really count on people that are just trying to help and giving you things for free. But somewhere down the line, you're going to be paying with your pocketbook or your blood or your sweat or your tears. It's happening.
So as we wrap up today, I have one more question, changing topics a little bit here too. But what happens often when a business relationship starts informally? Hey, would you create this website for me? Sure, I'd love to. Between friends or partners, and nobody wants to put clear terms in writing. What happens next?
Well, that's I think is the biggest mistake, especially for friends and families, because I think that it's very important for everybody to put things in writing, but especially for friends and family, because you don't want to lose that relationship with your brother, your sister, and I just got a case recently that I'm mediating between a sister that sold the business of the family without permission of the family. And so, you know, she didn't have a permission. There was no contract, and everybody trusted her. And she went wrong. She did wrong. So, now going forward, the relationship with that sister is going to be cloudy. And what's going to happen in the future, we don't know yet. Chantal, what do you think about family relationships?
It's difficult to work with family, to say. But there are definitely times where it works better than other times. But I think, particularly with family relations, particularly with friendly relations, you have to have the rules in place because there are particular expectations from a family member or from a friend that you don't have necessarily in an arm's length business transaction. So you should take care to make those rules together, but there still should be rules in place because let's just see what happens is always a bad idea.
And if it's already gotten along the way a little ways, what can be done at that point?
Well, I think, like, for example, Mark mediates a lot of cases that are in this realm. And I think that's always the best way. I think both as advocates and as a mediator, the first thing is to try to work it out. The first thing that we are met with is, we want to go to court. But the first thing that should happen is, okay, everyone take a breath. Let's see if we can work this out. And we try to work it out one-on-one and see if it's possible. And if it's too contentious and it's too angry and people's feelings are hurt, it's always feelings. People's feelings are too hurt, then it's not possible. And you have to move forward with litigation. And that's when evidence will come in and the sides will be seeing what is actually the right thing to do, what is the law going to guide them toward, what are the attorneys going to guide them toward, and then decisions will be made through the court.
That sounds to me like if you start feeling like maybe we should have had a contract in place, that's the time to at least get it in place, maybe before the feelings go.
Definitely before. Yes, definitely before feelings take over. Feelings are always hard to deal with.
Excellent. Well, thank you both. And that wraps up today's episode of Behind the Law with the Ameli Law Group with Chantelle and Mark Ameli. If you are dealing with a serious legal issue and want a team that prepares every case with a trial mindset, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe to the show so you will catch every episode. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Chantelle.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.